Well, tell us a little bit about. I've been enjoying your new DVD, The Live at the Spud.
Yeah.
There's some savage playing there. I want to apologize for those bells you're hearing. I tried to turn off the messenger on my son's computer here that I'm using to do this broadcast, but for some reason, my wife is very much interested in scanning a bunch of pictures upstairs in the attic, and she keeps on group texting us all with more incriminating photos, which I will not share with you at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wow.
Pay no attention to those bells. Just remember, every time you hear one of these bells, it's attached with a certain degree of embarrassment. But anyway, so continue. Live at the Spud, you did with Travis Carlton on bass and Gary Novak on drums.
Indeed.
And you use those individuals quite a bit. Am I right?
I use those guys quite a bit, as much as they'll allow me to, I guess. Up until before now, they were in demand, hot musicians, and they're incredible. Obviously, Gary is a legend, and Travis is my brother, one of my best friends in the world, and they're great musicians on top of all that. Live at the Spud was. I'd never really done a live record. I actually did one when I was 15 years old. It doesn't count. So I thought, maybe it was time to do something live. I wanted to do very high-end video. I'd never done that. I wanted to try to, have something in that whatever the word is, that checklist of my list of that.
Sure.
I didn't have that. And the Baked Potato is an incredibly comfortable place to play. I've been playing there since I moved to LA. That's 18 years ago. And you can play loud there. The audience has no expectations. They're used to people playing weird there, playing anything. So it's like.
So it's not a place where the blues police are going to come. And
there are no police of any kind at the Baked Potato.
Excellent.
And it was just a no-brainer to kind of do it there. We did 2 nights in a row. But 98% came from the second night.
Yes. Well, yeah, because you get more comfortable and you're like, believe me, I understand. Well, it turned out great. There's some incendiary playing out on there. It sounds great and it looks great. So
thanks.
Well done. And I encourage you all out there who are viewing this fine broadcast on the Intergoogle to go out and purchase it at your earliest convenience.
Please do. And any day it will be actually finally on iTunes and Amazon as a digital video, which was the most impossible thing to do. And then when I finally gave in and paid the fortune it cost to do that, the pandemic hit, and the company that distributes it digitally went from 15-day turnaround to at least 90 days. So now it's just sitting in purgatory,
in limbo land.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of stuff like nowadays, I saw that you did a thing where you said, okay, on this particular week in June, I'm going to do Skype lessons. How many do you like to do? Is it something you do regularly? And because I do quite a few. Well, I don't really broadcast it all that much, but they are available on my site. And if I'm doing a live feed or something, people always ask, do you do Skype lessons? And I'll say, yeah, and they come in and away it will go. But how's your approach to it? How much do you put a cap on it? Do you do hour thing? How do you like to approach it?
I don't. I do none. Zero. I never do them. It's been a couple years since I've done any at all, except for like the odd somebody just messaged me so many times that it's like, okay, one lesson here. But as these months go by and the money is not coming in, and honestly, the messages were just flooding in. Can I take a lesson? Can I take a lesson? I thought, well, you know what? Instead of just opening it up to whenever, like, hey, yes, okay, I'm open to lessons. Why don't I just take a week and just kill myself for a week and do as many as I possibly can? But at least it creates some real demand where people line up with slots, and that's it. So that's what I did. It was 3 days ago. I said, hey, I'm going to do June 1st through the 6th. I'm only going to do 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. with lunch break, so 8 a day. And it's like every one of them is signed up for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're going to take that money and run. But at the end of those days, you may need counseling. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a high probability of that.
It's interesting because I enjoy doing them, but I don't do any more than 2 in a day, and I always space them apart. And I always have fun, but it's amazing to me how many people just want to talk. You know what I mean? Or they want to talk gear, uh, which is all good. I don't have a problem with any of it, but it's amazing to me because if somebody's really into it, oh, how do we improvise? I'll show them like a bunch of stuff in the first 15 minutes, and then they're like, but they don't want to play anything. You know what I mean? So
it's an interesting thing because
I like
you can't play together.
Just because of that, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the not being able to play together thing makes it difficult to get past like those initial, you show them something, they play it back to you. But yeah, a lot of times they don't want to just play unaccompanied in front of you for a while, Right. So it ends up you're playing, but mostly you're chatting. They're asking questions. And that actually is my favorite part of lessons. It's actually why I really do enjoy doing clinics, and I know you do too, because I love the question and answer.
Right.
And getting specific, if you've got a specific question, I probably can give you some sort of at least my spin on it. I like that.
Absolutely. And plus it's fun too. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's good for me to have to deconstruct some of the stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you find you've learned more. Oh, I guess now that I've defined what that is, I can actually, reprocess it or whatever the case may be. I find it instructive to be instructive.
Well, last night, as I was kind of coming to grips with what I've signed up for with all these lessons, I looked back through my AOL email account to see the last time I did a group of lessons, and it was like 9 years ago, where I did a lot of lessons back then. But I found all my old PDF scans that I have written out stuff for people. So it's like, great. Now I have stuff I can talk. If I talk about with people, I can send it to them. I was like, I kind of organized myself.
Perfect.
So I'll be ready for this week.
Awesome. Well, every little bit helps like that, as you well know. Good God Almighty.
Indeed.
So let's talk a little bit about your history and how you ended up in LA. So you started pretty doggone young. You were one of them child prodigies. And you were in Florida, but were you originally from New York though, right?
No. I was born in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
But we moved to Florida when I was 1 year old.
Got it. Okay.
And we grew up in Fort Lauderdale, so South Florida. And, I started playing guitar when I was 6, but I got the guitar when I was 3. From my parents. It was kind of out of left field. They don't play. My dad doesn't play. He loves music and sports. And on the day that my sister was born, because our birthdays are only 4 days apart, my mom was going into labor and my third birthday got kind of glossed over. And the story is, on the day my sister was born, my dad, on the way home from the hospital, stopped at both a sporting goods store and a music store and bought a tennis racket and a guitar. Brought home to me for my birthday.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
I guess so, and I banged the guitar around for a while. And then at 6, I asked them for lessons. And first I ended up back then there was all those like chain schools, Ace and Yamaha and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And after one lesson, they tried to get my dad to buy like a Strat and an amp and a strap and 6 books. And so then he went in the back of the classifieds and found some jazz student that had just graduated from University of Miami, and that's who I went to for the first year.
Okay. Now, was your dad a fan of blues oriented stuff, or how did that fascination commence?
Absolutely. Yeah. He was a fan of blues. He wasn't only a blues guy. He was, if I had to say what was his main thing, he was a rock and roll guy. I mean, he loved the Allman Brothers and the Rolling Stones and, Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. But he also had, he had Giant Steps. He had Kinda Blue. He had a lot of records in his collection. He had Bob Dylan. He had some country stuff. My mom had a lot of Motown and Stax. So I was hearing Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett, and then Miles Davis, and then the Allman Brothers, and then, Bruce Springsteen or whatever.
Right.
It was just good American music for the most part. But that's, when I remember vividly, though, hearing Albert King and B.B. King for the first time in the house and it flipping something in me for sure.
I can dig it. So when did you start playing in bands? Was that an early thing as far as like grade school or middle school, or how did it all commence?
It started in middle school. mostly best out of frustration because as I progressed as a player, uh, the music that was popular at that time was heavy metal. And, not that I hated heavy metal. I don't want to say that. I liked it. I had a
Sure.
Columbia Records account and I got all my Warrant and my White Snake and, all that. I had all that shit. But the music I like to play, any kid my age who had maybe put in the amount of work I did and was getting good definitely didn't like the music I liked. So I couldn't find anybody to play with. So that's when it became, you know what, maybe I should search out some situations where I can play because I knew I needed to grow. My teacher was telling me you need to play to get, you're at this stage where you need to be playing and improvising. So I started to go to blues jams in 8th grade. Yeah. And that's how it started for me. And, the audience would go, woo, because I was really short and, it was a novelty. But I didn't care. The second, like anybody applauded for something I did, sold.
Right. You're like, this is cool.
One of the host bands at one of the jams that I would frequent, they saw the possibilities of, hey, if we have this kid maybe play gigs with us announced, maybe we'll get some better gigs and some better guarantees. So they asked me to like join the band. This was in between my 8th grade year and 9th grade year of first year of high school. And that's when it started for me, playing gigs every weekend. And next thing you knew, that was all I cared about.